Good evening. I welcome you to Strange Nexus, your portal to the realms of the strange, spooky, and unexplained. On tonight's episode, I bring to you the story of a group of girlfriends having a bachelorette party. What was supposed to be a day of fun and celebration at an abandoned theme park quickly turns into a nightmarish struggle for survival.
I never expected my bachelorette party to turn into a nightmare. It was supposed to be a day of fun, laughter, and celebration at the old, abandoned theme park on the outskirts of town. My best friends, Sarah, Emily, and Jess, had planned this day for weeks. I know this doesn't sound like the typical shenanigans of a bachelorette party, but my friends and I have been obsessed with all things spooky since we were kids. We were all dressed in matching bride and bridesmaid shirts, ready for a day filled with rides, games, and lots of mischief. As we arrived at the decrepit theme park, I couldn't help but feel a shiver run down my spine. The place looked like something straight out of a horror movie. Rusty roller coasters stood tall, their tracks covered in ivy. The once vibrant colors of the rides had faded to a sickly gray, and the entire park had an eerie silence that sent chills through me. Sarah, always the adventurous one, tried to reassure us. "Come on, guys, this place is supposed to be haunted. It's perfect for a spooky bachelorette party." I forced a smile, trying to shake off my unease. "You're right, Sarah. Let's make the most of it." We entered the park, and the atmosphere grew increasingly unsettling. The usual sounds of laughter and joy were replaced by the creaking of old rides and the distant howling of the wind. It felt like we were the only living souls in that desolate place. Our first stop was the Ferris wheel, its giant rusted structure looming ominously over us. We climbed into the rickety old gondola, and as we ascended, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The view from the top was breathtaking, but the sense of dread only grew stronger. "That's weird," Emily said, pointing to a figure in a faded mascot costume near the entrance. "Who would be dressed like that in a place like this?" The mascot was a grotesque, oversized rabbit with a wide, eerie smile painted on its face. It waved at us with exaggerated, jerky movements. I felt my skin crawl as its hollow eyes seemed to lock onto me. "Let's get out of here," I suggested, my voice trembling. But before we could descend from the Ferris wheel, a loud, metallic groaning echoed through the park. To our horror, we noticed the large metal front gates of the park were now locked. Then, just as sudden, the ride shuddered to a halt, leaving us suspended high above the ground. Panic set in as we realized that we were stuck, unable to move. "Maybe it's just a mechanical issue," Jess suggested, trying to remain calm. Sarah pulled out her phone to call for help, but there was no signal. We were trapped, helpless, and vulnerable. Hours passed, and the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the deserted park. Panic turned to fear as we realized that no one was coming to rescue us. We decided the only way out of this was to climb down the jagged and rusted spokes of the once brilliant ride. Luckily, we reached a small service ladder in decent enough shape that we're able to make it down in one piece. The mascot, who had disappeared earlier, was nowhere to be seen. As darkness fell, we huddled together, our flashlight apps barely cutting through the inky blackness. The wind whispered eerie secrets, and the creaking of the ride seemed like ominous warnings. Our voices trembled as we tried to comfort one another. "We should stick together," I whispered. "Maybe there's a way out of here." But just as we started to move, a spine-chilling laughter echoed through the park. It was the deranged, distorted laughter of the mascot. It sent shivers down our spines. "Who are you? What do you want?" Emily shouted, her voice quivering. The mascot emerged from the shadows, its oversized ears twitching as it shuffled towards us. "Welcome, ladies, to my park," it hissed in a high-pitched, eerie voice. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized the nightmare we were trapped in. "Please, let us go. We didn't mean to intrude." The mascot's unsettling grin widened. "Oh, but you're not intruders. You're the guests of honor." With a sudden, unsettling agility, it lunged at us, and we screamed as it grabbed Jess, dragging her away into the darkness. Our flashlight beams flickered and died, leaving us in terrifying darkness once more. "We have to find her," I cried, desperation gripping my heart. We groped through the blackness, our hands trembling as we tried to locate Jess. Every creak, every rustle of leaves, seemed like the mascot was right behind us, watching our every move. We stumbled upon an old game booth, its decrepit sign barely legible. It read, "Win to survive." "Win what?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Then suddenly, the place lit up. Colorful lights and unsettling carnival music filled the air. A set of carnival games lay before us, each more twisted and gruesome than the last. Dartboards with human faces, a roulette wheel with blades for numbers, and a shooting gallery with targets resembling people. It was a sick and horrifying game, and we had no choice but to play. With trembling hands, we took turns, our lives depending on our skill and luck. One by one, we barely won each game, but each victory brought us a step closer to finding Jess. The mascot's sinister laughter echoed around us, growing louder with each game we won. Finally, we reached the last game, a nightmarish version of hide-and-seek. We had to find Jess in the pitch-black darkness of a twisted maze, armed with only a dim flashlight. The stakes were high, and our hearts pounded in our chests as we searched desperately. We tripped over piles of bones, climbed over mounds of unknown mush, and ran through swarming insects, but finally made it to a small clearing. As I swept my flashlight across the area, I caught a glimpse of Jess, bound and gagged, her eyes filled with terror. I rushed to free her, and as we embraced, we heard the mascot's voice behind us. "You're clever, but not clever enough," it sneered. We turned to face the grinning nightmare, now holding a knife in its gloved hand. It advanced on us slowly, its deranged laughter filling the air. We had no choice but to defend ourselves, using whatever we could find as makeshift weapons. We reached for bones, old buckets, and even an old lawn chair. Our battle with the mascot was fierce and brutal, but in the end, we managed to overpower it, knocking off its grotesque mask. What lay beneath was even more horrifying, an emaciated, disfigured face, twisted by years of torment and solitude. Even as it lay unconscious, a large, unnatural grin was printed on its face. After freeing Jess, we found a small tent which had a makeshift bed made out of hay, a pile of old discolored mascot costumes, and a small two-way radio, which we used to call for help. As the police arrived to rescue us, we couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and horror. The nightmare was over, but the scars it had left on us would last a lifetime. The old theme park had indeed been haunted, not by ghosts, but by the twisted soul of the mascot. My bachelorette party had become a harrowing ordeal, a battle for survival against a deranged force we could never have imagined. It was a day that would forever haunt my dreams, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't see until it's too late.
This reality never ceases to amaze me. What a tale. Now click subscribe and like this video for more strange Nexus.